Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk about the idea of solving versus dissolving OCD and anxiety. And so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I am the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And in this episode today, I want to share this idea because I think this can really, once you shift into these two perspectives, or essentially if whichever perspective you're operating from is going to really determine the results you're going to achieve on your journey to recovery. So let's talk first about solving. And so when we're approaching OCD and anxiety, usually one of the reasons that we get stuck in this loop, and again, the loop composes, is comprised of these four components, right? The thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors, and the relief that we get, right? And this loop forms. The more we do the behaviors, the more it reinforces the thoughts. The more we reinforce the thoughts, it reinforces the feelings, and this spiral just begins to, just kind of get out of control. And the more that loop spins, the faster it spins, the more chaos and disorder that's created in our lives. So when we're talking about an anxiety disorder, or the spectrum of anxiety disorders, whether it's social anxiety, panic attacks, general anxiety, OCD, phobias, even things like PTSD, and even there's a trauma component in that, but it still is in that kind of spectrum. And then even things like derealization, depersonalization, and so on. When you're talking about these stress related conditions, what you have to understand is that the presence of stress and anxiety is not a disorder, right? What happens is the more and more we get in these loops, it creates disorder in our life. So, and even then, when we're scaling and trying to, taking certain tests or assessments to see, like, does this person have the disorder? One of the major things we're measuring is how much time do you spend, or does this occupy in your life, right? And so if you look at the Y box or other tests that measure anxiety disorders, a lot of what we're measuring is the time that one engages in these things that are related to the anxiety or trying to control the anxiety, right? Not the anxiety itself. It's an important distinction to consider, because the default assumption that most people have is that, well, hey, I have this, right? Or I have anxiety, so I have a disorder. And that's not the case, right? Anxiety is completely normal. Stress is completely normal. It's the amount in which we're engaged in this loop that creates disorder in our life. So one of the things that happens is we try to solve something. We try to use our mind to solve something, right? And it could be trying to get certainty about something. It could be trying to figure out the anxiety, why we have anxiety, why these thoughts are happening. It could be trying to plan ahead in the future as to, I need to make sure that I don't have any, triggers that hit me or control my environment, right? So the more and more we try to solve, and this is, I always talk about most things on this journey are a complete paradox, but the more and more we try to solve OCD and anxiety, paradoxically, the more confused and derailed we usually get. At least that's my own experience, and I know many of my clients can absolutely attest to that as well. So again, what recovery is about trying a completely different approach. And instead of trying to solve and ruminate more and analyze more and trying to figure out this and figure out that and really going into your mind trying to figure this out. I got some birds going on in the background here. Instead of trying to figure it out and solve it, what we actually want to do is begin to dissolve it, right? And what I mean by that is not dissolving the thoughts or the anxiety, but the entire loop that we're caught in. And how we go about doing that is we understand the problem differently. We understand that it's not, because again, at whatever level you try to work at this at is going to very, very highly determine the result you're going to get. Again, how you understand the problem is going to determine what you do. What you do is going to determine your results. So when we're talking about dissolving OCD and anxiety, what we're talking about is working at it from the highest level possible. Because if we work at it from the content of our thought, meaning like my mind saying, well, what if this? What if I get a disease? What if I ran someone over? What if I, had this thought and that means this? What if I go crazy? What if, like what if fill in the blank, right? If we're working at that content and we're assuming that it's a disease problem or a driving problem or this and that, you're going to have a very difficult time. Because I've yet to meet someone who has successfully outthought this. And like Albert Einstein, famously said, right, a problem cannot be solved from the level of consciousness in which it was created. When you're trying to solve the mind with the mind, and it's already in a disturbed state, it just doesn't work, And so then if we actually, so when I'm saying like the content, right, think of a thought like a little cloud or a bubble, right? And the content is like the word in the bubble, right? So if we're trying to solve it at a content level, we're going to have a very difficult time. If we're trying to solve it at a thought level, which is the cloud itself, right? We're trying to stop our thoughts or get rid of thoughts or all that, again, doesn't work. And then if we're trying to solve it at a feeling level, equally doesn't work, right? Because we're trying to control feelings. And feelings are energy. In many ways, thoughts are energy too. But we don't need to go into that in this. And so solving it makes us operate at the content, the thought, and the feeling level. Dissolving it, on the other hand, is not even going into that, right? Is understanding that this is just a loop problem. This is a loop that I'm caught in, right? And if I'm caught in this loop, well, then I need to be able to break the loop. And when we say I'm caught in this loop, let me kind of be clear on what I mean by that. What we're talking about here is your consciousness, right? Your awareness. This is the power that we have as human beings is we have the most amazing thing we have is consciousness, and the levels of consciousness is really like the place that we're working at here from. We're understanding that we are not our thoughts and feelings; we are the observer of them. Right, and so if you look around the room that you're in right now, right, is when you put your attention on something, you're placing your awareness on it. You're choosing. You're making an active choice to place your awareness on something. It's like, think of like a flashlight. You're shining a spotlight on something. You have that ability, right? We all do. And the consciousness is the observer of what's being seen. Okay. So when you have a thought in your mind, it's like the thought isn't you. You're just observing the thought, okay? And as we step back to a higher level of consciousness and we understand this loop going on, what we do is we understand that, well, if we engage in any behaviors that reinforce this loop, that's going to keep the loop going, right? And by doing that, that's what basically gets our consciousness lost in this loop. So by breaking out and diffusing from the loop and then solving it from a behavioral standpoint, or dissolving it from a behavioral standpoint, meaning I understand that the only thing I have control over in this loop is my behaviors. So if I don't engage in those, that loop can't exist. And that's what I mean by dissolving. If that loop can't spin, it eventually just dissolves. And so when you look at your own experience with this, it might have been going on for 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, doesn't matter, right? However long you've been caught in this is irrelevant because the only reason you've been caught is because you've been trying to solve it instead of dissolve it. So that's what I wanted to share today, and just really taking that into the week and saying, hey, I'm going to work at this from the place of dissolving this as opposed to solving it. Because it will, in my experience, produce much better results for your life. So, hope that's helpful. And for those of you that are looking for help on this journey, again, at Restored Minds, we have various programs and options for you, to help you, because this isn't something that you should be doing alone. So please check out Restored Minds. I also have a little free gift down in the notes to get you started. It's just a download that you can get started with, kind of understanding this on a higher level. And we also have a workshop. Again, it's going to be a live 3-day workshop that I'm going to be hosting probably in August, I think, is when we're going to host it. And so I was just in a meeting last week kind of talking about dates. So we don't have an official date yet, but I will be letting you guys know, because again, I'm excited about it. I'm really going to be going in depth into what I talked about today, as well as just a lot of stuff, from releasing emotion to handling thoughts and all that. So it's going to be a live workshop. Again, it's going to be all online. So please check it out. If you're not on our email list, make sure to hop on that just so you get notified. And yeah, with that said, I hope you guys have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. See you soon.
Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds, where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below, and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.